Greetings, beloved Princeton United Methodist Church community. It's Pastor Jenny here, and I'm reading today from Matthew chapter 25, verses 20 and 21. This is from the parable of the talents. Then the one who had received the 5 talents came forward, bringing 5 more talents, saying, Master, you handed over to me 5 talents, and see, I have made 5 more talents. His master said to him, Well done, good and trustworthy slave. You have been trustworthy in a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Enter into the joy of your master. This is the word of life. Thanks be to God. You know, as I read this, I am aware that there is language in this story that is really challenging. And it's not just in these 2 verses. It is throughout. And so I know that is there, and part of it is around slave and master. Some of it has to do with really harsh language later on in the parable as well. Some of it also has to do with the word talent. Talent is a measure of money back in biblical times, but it's a lot of money. It's not just a little bit of money, it's a lot of money. But we also know that talent word is what we think of as skills, gifts, many of the same things that we talked about as we talked about salt and light, being salt, being light over the past couple of months. So there's a lot going on here, but I want to invite us to consider how it is, when we are gifted, which all of us are, every single one of us has a gift from God. We are all unique. We all have that Holy Spirit spark, that Holy Spirit gift in us that is just a little bit different for every single one of us. No 2 are exactly alike. There's only one you in this world. There only ever has been, and there only ever will be. Your uniqueness, this gift that God has given to you, these talents, if you will, these resources that only you have access to, are yours to share or yours to withhold. And of course, the hope is that God enables us to share these things. But I know that is also very complicated and multi-layered, and all sorts of things go into this. But God is a God of abundance. God is a God of sharing. God is a God who gives us so much internally, so much physically, so much in our world, so much within one another and within our community as well. I've been on a retreat this part of this week, and part of our reflection today has been about scarcity. About how we are kind of trained through many parts of our society, through many parts of our culture, through many parts of just our economy, all sorts of things, that we are trained to think in scarce ways. There's not enough of this, or there's not enough of that. I am not enough. Many things in my head tell me, and my heart tell me, and the world tells me, which is part of why, it is the reason why at the beginning of all of our worship services, we say we are enough, because God is enough. God has given us all that we need within ourselves and within a community together. And it is ours, each of those parts that we steward, just like these talents, is ours to withhold or ours to share. God is a God of abundance. God is a God of mystery. God is a God of surprises. And even in this challenging parable of the talents, God surprises us with abundance, with joy, with a flowing of God's gifts, God's resources, God's self within us, so that we can also do the same, sharing with one another. So I invite you to reflect on this as well, this sense of scarcity and abundance, about where you are, where those kind of layers of scarcity have been built up within you. We all have that. We all have this experience of of scarcity. It might be different for you than for me. It might be about things or about money or about time or about self-worth. It can be about so many different things. But I wonder, what are those ways that you have been kind of taught scarcity, and ways that you've been taught abundance, and ways that these two things kind of are in tension with one another. So I leave these things to your contemplation, and I do invite you to come to worship on Sunday, where we're going to be talking about this again. We are continuing and wrapping up actually our worship series on Tiny Seeds, Great Harvest. This goes along with our pledge campaign. You should have received in the mail a little packet in a white envelope that has these things in it. There's a letter in there. There's a pledge card. The card is a whole piece of paper, not just a little card. And then a newsletter, our narrative budget newsletter, that shares with you many of the ways that God has been at work in our congregation, and how when you share financially with the congregation, but also of your spiritual and personhood resources, that we become church. We are church together when that happens. But this outlines some of that for you. So I do invite you to bring your pledge cards back with you on Sunday. There's also an electronic version of this. It'll be linked in this email that this video is in. It's also here on the letter for you, or on the pledge card for you. But this is an opportunity, again, not just to commit your financial resources, but also to commit your prayers, your presence, your service, and your witness, just as we commit to doing as we join the church. As we say we want to be part of Princeton United Methodist Church, we say we will uphold this church by our prayers, our presence, our gifts, our service, and our witness. And this is our annual opportunity to put action to those very vows, those things that we say when we come together as a church. Also, there's one Sunday between now and All Saints Sunday. So this Sunday or this next week, if you have any names that you would like to share for us to lift up together on All Saints Sunday. All Saints Sunday is November 3rd. And so we would ask you to do that now. This is the time. Send that into the office so that Tyler can collect those names for us. This is an opportunity, a celebration to remember those who have gone before us, and particularly those who have died over this past year, who are in our hearts and in our communities, and who we miss, but who have been saints to us. We also have our annual fall church conference on November 2nd. This is kind of a holy conferencing, a business meeting of the church that we have every year. This is every person who is a professing member of our church has a voice and vote at this meeting. We do things like celebrate the work that God has been doing in and through us over this past year. We're going to spend the first part of the time in holy conferencing, listening and bearing witness to all of that, looking ahead to where God is calling us next. We will elect officers for the church. We will set clergy salaries. We have a candidate for ministry that will be lifting up for support, as well as some other things there. We have a proposed change to our governance rules for our leadership board and things like that. So you're welcome to come. It is a hybrid meeting. It is on Zoom or in person in our fellowship hall on Saturday, November 2nd at noon. The Reverend Dr. Will Mafuda, the pastor at Hopewell United Methodist Church, is going to be presiding for us that day. So you're all welcome to come. And even if you're not a professing member, you're welcome to come and be present as well. So you're all invited to that. It is always a privilege, a privilege and a joy for me to be on this journey with you. It's an honor to be your pastor. It is a privilege to remind you that you were created for joy, that you are enough because God is enough. Thanks be to God for that.